Welcome to the Atlantico podcast, where we talk about the science behind the Atlantico project, the Atlantic Ocean, and the human adventures experienced along the way. Here, we have conversations with guests from around the world who work together so that we can better understand, manage, and protect the ocean. So let's embark on the journey of Atlantico and discover the world that lies above and beneath the surface of the beautiful Atlantic Ocean. Welcome back to the Atlantico podcast. Today I am really happy. I'm so happy to have this conversation with Thando Mazomba. She is an inspiring young woman from South Africa. Thando is one of the All Atlantic Youth Ambassadors, which is a program that was launched by the All Atlantic Research Alliance, which we've touched upon. We talked about it when we had our guest, Siggy Gruber. The program aims at empowering young ocean professionals as they promote sustainable development and stewardship of the Atlantic Ocean, and to give them a voice within their communities and beyond. So without any further delay, let's start our conversation. Thando, welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have this chat with you today.
Thanks so much, Eloise, and I'm really happy to connect with you again personally, but also I'm just super grateful that my paths have crossed with Atlantico again since earlier this year that you guys were with us in Cape Town. So thanks again for having me.
It's a great pleasure. And maybe you don't know, but at the beginning of each of our episodes, what I'd like to do is to ask you a few questions so that we can get to know you a little bit better. So could you tell me a little bit about yourself, how your connection with the ocean started, and about your journey so far?
Well, as you said, my name is Thando, and I am from a town called East London in the Eastern Cape in South Africa. So you guys were in Cape Town on the west coast. So if you drive like 1,000 kilometers east, you'll reach my little city called East London. And so I actually grew up on the Indian Ocean and the warmer waters. And yeah, I think my relationship with the ocean started when I was very young. So initially we actually lived inland, and every Sunday or most Sundays we drive to the coast, which is about a 45-minute drive after lunch, and go spend some time at the beach. And later in my teen years, my best friend and I used to just go and spend all our summer holiday days baking in the sun and getting sunburned. And from there, I just decided I think that I would enjoy getting paid to work outside and getting paid to work in the ocean. So I registered for university in Cape Town. That's when I moved across to the west coast, the Atlantic side. And I studied marine biology, as well as physical oceanography and environmental sciences. So I ended up doing a triple major undergrad. And it was really because I was just curious and I thought, why not now? And also because I really enjoy understanding the ocean from multiple perspectives. So like, I guess a lot of people ask the main difference between oceanography and marine biology. And the biological side is exactly that. It's looking at the organisms and how they interact in the ocean, whereas oceanography is more of the physical processes. And then in the environmental side, it really taught me about how people interact with the natural environment and the policies that underlie and underpin how people move around in the natural environment. So I graduated, and then I did my honors in marine biology. Then I worked at the aquarium for a little bit, and then I did my master's in physical oceanography. And yeah, I did like marine law as well and environmental law. And it all goes back to me just like jumping around from different perspectives of the ocean. So I'm really grateful and really privileged. I understand my privilege in being able to study for so long and in so many different areas. And yeah, now I'm here. I work at a company called CLS Southern Africa, and we do like marine work as well as met ocean work, which is like meteorological and oceanographic work. So we'll like deploy instruments and maintain them for different types of projects for different clients. And we also actually, our headquarters is in Toulouse in France. So we have a mother company there, yeah. And they own the Argos network. So we work with satellite-based applications as well. from anything from like tracking vehicles, but also tracking marine animals. So still in the ocean space, then, doing NGO work and of course being a part of the All Atlantic community, being an ambassador for the past 2 years with 25 other incredible ambassadors. So yeah, that's where I'm at amongst other small things.
It's amazing, and you really managed to combine all the different perspectives to understand the ocean. It must be great to have that good overview, good understanding, and being able to follow that through now into the private sector as well, which is an interesting take. So today we want to talk a little bit about the Youth Ambassador Program and many other things, all things kind of ocean related, and your views on all of that. So to start with, could you maybe tell us a little bit about the Youth Ambassador Program, how you've started to be involved and how it has maybe helped you or shaped the way you see the ocean so far?
Yeah, so I've listened to a couple of your podcast recordings, obviously. So I know you had Danielle in your first one and your kickoff, and you had Siggy in a couple of episodes ago. And so, yeah, I guess All Atlantic falls under the H2020 program, just like the Atlantico project. And under the All Atlantic sort of program, we have the ambassadors, of which I am a part of the second cohort, which we've been now for the past 2 years. The first cohort was like 2019 and 2020. And I think there were about 23 members there, and there's 26 of us in total now, of which Aurora, who's our newest team member, she's a Norwegian and Sami of Sami heritage. And so we were super excited to have her on board very recently. And I really hope that she continues to go forward with it. And really, I guess the aim of the ambassadorship is to use really engaging youth to connect the All Atlantic community, because one of the objectives of the project and really of the Ocean Decade, and one of the EU's objectives under H2020, is to build this big All Atlantic community. And so our main mandate as ambassadors is to engage with communities, both local, so in our own local respects, and internationally by bringing us together and engaging to do a bunch of different activities, from conferences to like webinars or hybrid conferences. We've run a couple of local programs as well as international programs. Excitingly, we've just been lucky enough to publish a booklet as part of a booklet series, which I'm super, super proud of. And, we are really incredible, like just individually, the people that I've met along this path, the youth ambassadors are, any people from like doctorates to filmmakers. So a really wide and diverse skill set, but incredibly dedicated and passionate people. So it's been an incredible and inspiring 2 years of learning from one another, and I've seen the community manifest through the ambassadorship, in the sense that, like, even now that our cohort is maybe coming towards an end formally for us, we still have many plans going forward to do more projects, to collaborate, and to bring the All Atlantic community much closer together. Of course, for the greater good of the ocean, for an inclusive ocean, for a healthier ocean, because we know that when we start talking to one another, better ideas come, more robust solutions come. So yeah, that's a little bit about the All Atlantic Youth Ambassador.
So there's people from all over the Atlantic. It's great to see, and I guess that hopefully there will be another cohort once this one ends, but carries on its own little legs, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that, I was talking to Siggy over email actually about it, and expressing my, just my general want to carry on being just a general ambassador for the ocean, for the Atlantic Ocean. And I think everyone has the ability to do that. You don't need a program to do that. And yeah, we were, I guess, agreeing that the work doesn't ever really end. You forever creating community in the ocean space. And so, yeah, it does, just because that cohort ends doesn't mean the work or the relationship ends.
No, hopefully it carries on over the years, for many years to come, for sure. So if we go back a little bit to you personally, so I know when I was looking at your profile a little bit, I know that you have been and are still very active in many ocean-related initiatives, besides, the involvement in as an ambassador. So you're involved in ocean conversation to supporting women in marine sciences. So I understand that you're very strongly engaged for our oceans, and I'd like to know about your experience of the Atlantic Ocean, and I guess also the Indian Ocean, from your point of view in South Africa. What does it mean to you, and how does it inspire you?
Yeah, so as you've mentioned, I definitely grew up on the Indian Ocean, and that's where this huge love and relationship started for me with the ocean. And I consider myself, with all these little hats that I wear, just a custodian of the ocean. And I think that the move from, the home city to the Atlantic seaboard to study was a big call of growth for me, because it went from a scientific or a research journey of, just attaining the degree to get a job that would pay me to just be a diver or work in the ocean. And my community, my ocean community, just started to expand. Of course, it did in the research field, but then in activism space. And I'm now part of an NGO called the Beach Co-op, which is run only by 5 incredible women, and I'm part of another fellowship which looks at creating representation around filmmaking of people of color in the natural environment. And so my evolvement with the ocean, like I felt like I've evolved with the ocean in my journey of evolving as a professional, because it's taught me to reflect on how I exist in this space, right? I can be a scientist, I am a scientist, but also I'm a woman of color, I am a woman. And therefore, there are all these lived experiences that differ, right? From my lived experience to your lived experience to someone else's lived experience. And I think it's a really important, not only important, but it's really special to sit down and reflect and consider how people are brought together through the ocean, but have incredibly different lived experiences. And in the time crunch and severe challenges we're facing with climate change, I think it's only right and only absolutely vital that we start to consider these lived experiences more, because as we've spoken about, the more you include people, the more understanding you have of their challenges, so you can bring about contextualized solutions. And I know that Siggy had spoken about in the previous episode, and it was actually one of our topics of discussion when we were in Washington in the signing of the declaration, is that as scientists, we should start to question what the need of scientists are and the need of scientific research is in the face of climate change, when climate change affects people differently. So it's no longer the question of just, publishing and then reviewing and publishing. It's about, if we're looking at the effects of climate change and we're wanting to save the natural environments, we also need to consider, once these natural environments are saved, are they equitable? Are they accessible to everyone? And so that has been really my journey with the Atlantic Ocean since I've moved across from under my parents' roof to being a professional, is one of a scientific journey, but also one of self and community, and realizing that we've got a huge challenge ahead of us. And I think that I'm leaning towards rooting for the people and finding out ways that are going to work for us as people and the ocean, so that we can co-thrive.
So a really big ambition, and one that has to be applauded, I think. It's really important to realize that doing science just for the sake of doing science is no longer an option. We have to bring solutions that work, but that work equitably for the people where they are and for what they do. So yeah, fully behind that statement of yours. And maybe if we go back to, you touched upon the fact that You are in South Africa, you are a woman of color. And if we expand a little bit on that topic of intersectionality and what it is like when working in the ocean space, can you maybe expand a little bit on that one?
Yeah. So maybe to put a definition to it so that people can call me out on it if I defined it wrong. For me, intersectionality means exactly that of different lived experiences. And even though we have so many different lived experiences, we are very much connected as a human race. And so there's this epic and very intricate interconnectedness that we have, and we shouldn't wash over it with our eyes, or we shouldn't forget about it, or assume that everyone is the same. There are nuances in this life, and as much as they need to be celebrated, again, in the face of trying to find solutions for the current economic situation or the current climate situation or global warming or ocean acidification or whatever it is, we need to understand that people's experiences of these situations are very different. And so I guess, I've touched on a couple of examples of the Beach Co-op, of which I'm a co-director of, this amazing really amazing NGO where we look to contribute to communities of care. And so our focus is not only conserving the blue and green spaces, but conserving the ethos of community. And through that, we do it through beach cleanups, but we are super engaging during our beach cleanups. We talk to our community and find out what their experience of us is and what their experience of the current socioeconomic situation in South Africa is. Because as you know, South Africa has a really recent social tragic oppression that still manifests today. And so even with our beach cleanups, we try to focus on what maybe I'll call the overlooked beaches, those that were previously for only people of color, and don't get beach cleanups, the popular beach cleanups that normally go to maybe like the nicer beaches or the more privileged beaches. So that is one way of looking at it if we had to look at maybe the socioeconomic aspect. So you look at the political space and then you look at the income bracket and how that involves us in the ocean space. And maybe another example that I can use is a local example that because I should have just maybe made a disclaimer at the beginning that I'm one of 3 South African Ocean Youth Ambassadors. Marissa and Kirsten are also South African Youth Ambassadors. And so together, we've made an amazing program called Expanding Horizons. And actually today was our last visit. It was a year-long program that we proposed funding for, where we take learners from disadvantaged schools, under-resourced schools every month, and we take them to the Two Oceans Aquarium to visit it, just for the sake of visiting the aquarium because they wouldn't have any resources to do so. But then on top of that, we take them behind the scenes to meet the turtle rehabilitation team to go through the process of that story, right? Because in class, they may hear of the Agulhas current and the Benguela current that runs along our coast in South Africa, but they may never be able to experience that because of the socioeconomic disadvantages that they face, right? And so through that engagement of going to the aquarium, being with us as mentors for them to ask any questions that they want, to walk through behind the scenes, to meet people of different professions in the ocean space, be it a finance person, a biologist, an engineer, or working at the aquarium, they get to meet these wonderful people in these careers that they might not ever be exposed to, and then also apply their theoretical knowledge to something tangible, something that's going to last, that they can embody in their bodies, right? As people who might have been overlooked because of their situation of being under-resourced. And so, yeah, in South Africa, I think that for me, it's almost non-negotiable to consider the socioeconomic aspect when you look at the conservation aspect, because they are so interlinked and so intertwined.
Yeah, inspiring. Again, I started by saying you were an inspiring woman, and as I listen to you, I just have to confirm this feeling I've had. We've said it a few times, not only the ocean, but our planet in general, but the ocean is facing many challenges, be it for the life within it or its ecosystems and the many services that it provides us. What is your vision? What do you hope for when you think about the future of the ocean and how we can improve things?
Yeah, I had to, yeah. I mean, when you ask me this question, there's so many little bits. And maybe because I've already spoken about inclusion so much, I'll maybe go into the economic front of it and maybe say that I think what worries me the most about my personal future in this world and the futures of others is this current definition we have of success and profit, which is, just the bottom line, like, to whatever cost we need to meet this bottom line. And I think it's incredibly short-sighted of us as a people, just as generally as a global community, because it means that we are willing to sacrifice things that shouldn't be sacrificed. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing that in our oceans, really struggling to provide for themselves and sustain and be resilient, never mind provide for us and our ever-growing population. And so it seems like we're spiraling in that sense. And I almost always repeat this quote wherever I go, and I'm just going to do it now again because I just think it's so valid every time. And it's a long-standing quote that says, the wealth of a community is directly dependent or a direct reflection of the health of its surrounding environment. And I think it's just self-explanatory that we need to consider what a long-term sustainable success looks like and maybe redefine that definition of success. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's because we've been going down this road for so long. It's going to shock the system a bit, and it's probably going to shock us a lot as well. But in the end, we're looking for a space that's going to co-thrive. We want to be able to live in this world and have provisions from the natural environment, but also have a natural environment that's super healthy and super self-sustainable. And then I think like moving on from that, or even maybe as a tool towards that goal, is really looking at social innovation and technological innovation and really putting our energy and our money towards that. Because again, there are just incredible people doing incredible things in this world. And I feel like they're often overlooked because they're not making money. They're not meeting the current bottom line that we're so desperately after. My wish is that social innovation and technological advancement that is accessible, because there's a lot of technology, but a lot of it is not accessible, is our way forward to really bring about a more equitable space. And also, I mean, we speak about our future generations, and our future generations are right here. And I guess for me, before I, do any other call to actions, is to also ask the future generation that is right here, the people that are just slightly younger than me, because I'm not that old. I can't say that I'm like old, is to speak up and to continue to demand the funding and to continue to demand the support to do the work that they're doing. I mean, people are just doing really incredible stuff. And I think my wish is that it's just put on a platform more. I think that's also why I try to use whatever platform I have to speak for marginalized communities and smaller communities that are maybe overlooked. Maybe just forego the science for a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe focus on making everybody, really giving the means and the tools to everybody to be an actor in this challenge and to do it together for the right reasons and not for the bottom line, as you say. Yeah. So yeah, good vision. And maybe to end our conversation today, as an ambassador, do you have a message to share with our audience? Even more, you've already made a few calls, but maybe you have some specific call to actions or words of encouragement or really a wake-up call, or maybe all of the above. What do you want to say?
So if I look at myself, I know that what I do for the love of the ocean. So my work and my approach to my work is for the love of the ocean and for the love of people, that they can get to the space. And because for me, the ocean is a very healing space. It's a rejuvenating space. It gives me joy. It obviously gives me a salary because I work for it and so on, whatever. But so I think that maybe my general call to action would be for people to approach the space from a point of love, because we've seen in the past and we see now as well that the blame game and anger doesn't really get us very far. And so I never try to make people feel bad about the situation we're in, although it's pretty dire. But like almost give an energy of you can do it. Like you can totally be a part of the solution, because if you love the ocean, if you love nature, if you love your sister, your brother, I mean, these are people that are completely directly reliant on a sustainable natural environment. If you love your children that you're about to have, children you're planning to have, it's all from a point of love. And so if we step into it from that space, and I know that like maybe love sounds like an airy fairy thing, but it's actually a commitment to work. It's getting down and really getting into the grit of it and working really hard and reflecting on yourself and how you exist in community. Like, do I hold privilege in this space? What privilege do I have? How can I use this privilege to better bring about good conversations where people are more included, where the ocean is at the forefront or the natural environment at the forefront of, our practices? In your company that you work for, how have you looked at the policies lately? Are they outdated? Are they problematic? Do they focus on things that they shouldn't be focusing on? In your peer circle, do you take time to reflect on that? What are the certain practices are you guys are partaking in that may not be conducive to a healthier environment? And it's like I said, it's a commitment to work. So it's going to take work, but it's all coming from a place of love. So I think my call to action is to do it from a place of love. Like, we want this place to survive because essentially we want to survive. If we're being honest, like Earth is probably going to be fine and do its own thing after we're long gone, and we'll be gone. So maybe just for a love of ourselves that we do better and we look for more solutions.
It's a beautiful one, beautiful one. So Thando, I have to really thank you for our conversation today. Maybe I will call on people to listen to this episode a few times, because you shared a lot of important messages, and I think it will take me some time to digest all of it, But I take your invitation and will remember that call to action to go for it, to get engaged, and to do it from a place of love.
Thank you so much, Eloise. It's always great to chat to you.
We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode and look forward to seeing you next time. You can follow the Atlantico project on our website on www.atlantico.eu, and you can also find us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. All the links and information on the project and on today's episode is in the show notes. Atlantico is a project funded under Horizon 2020, a European Union research and innovation programme.